The holiday season is a time for many things. Coming home to family, having a few drinks, catching up with old neighbors, having a few more drinks, being told by your estranged father that his new wife is slowly poisoning him, washing down that handful of pills with a few more drinks, and being murdered by a raincoat-wearing psychopath. Also, gingerbread! We watched Home for the Holidays. Today on...
The f*** is this?
And welcome back, however you wish to self-identify, to The Fuck Is This, where we dive through DVD bins, sort through streaming apps to find the weird, the bizarre, and the unloved. I'm your host, Kaz Lesgard, and joining me always is my co-host, Jameson Rafter.
Hey, happy holidays, everyone. Merry Kwanzaa and Hanukkah, Rama.
Yes.
To you all.
Yes, Rama. That's how you respect other cultures. Throw the word Rama on the end of it. Jameson, it is a bit of a holiday goddamn miracle that this episode is even happening in the first place. Whoa, we went through some trials and tribulations to get here, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Do you want to run that down? Because I gotta say, like, we are recording this on December 13th. About a year ago, and in 3 days, we would have released last year's Christmas episode. This one's gonna kind of get, like, right under the door.
It's not, yeah, we're not lining up on release dates anytime soon. No, we had a real journey getting to this point. Now, we were originally planning on doing a completely different episode. From this one, we had a different movie planned. We had a different guest planned. That guest was, for the first time, tied to the movie we were going to watch. They were actually on the set of the movie. I won't say the name of either the movie or the guest on the off chance that we eventually get around to doing it. But, you know, there were some last-minute scheduling changes. Ultimately, nobody's fault. It just it didn't work out. But we had to swerve at the very last minute because a few hours before we were about to record that episode, they had to go and do something else, unfortunately. So we sort of...
But more than that, because of, like, the timing thing, we decided, okay, we'll kind of break our own tradition, and Kaz and I will watch the movie beforehand. We'll watch it the night before, and we would do, like, you know, kind of fake our way into pretending that we hadn't seen it in the first half of the podcast, and then we would actually talk about it. So I guess the best way to put this is that this is gonna be our second stupid Christmas movie that we've watched this year.
Yes, we ended up watching the entire movie ahead of time. Just to clear the air, I wasn't planning on, like, putting on a facade, you know, like, gosh, I wonder how weird that was gonna be. I was gonna say up front, hey, we watched the movie this time because circumstances. Yeah, it was a ridiculously hard movie to find. It was only streaming on US sites, so we had to download a VPN, and then it only played on Pluto TV, which is a streaming site I'm not familiar with.
I had just heard of that shit.
Even then, it barely worked on any of my computers, or I couldn't get it to run anything like that, so I had to brave the wilderness, and I had to go over to Jameson's apartment. For the first time in months, it was nice. It was nice seeing you for like an hour and a half. Being in the same place. I feel like it's been the first time since we've done that. Anyway, that's not the episode we're doing. That's the story of the episode we almost did. The episode we are doing is this episode. Because we had to swerve at the last minute and we lost our guest, figured the easiest thing to do would be to mass email all of the guests we've had previous, and with a tremendous amount of luck, the first two that responded are already friends with each other, so that makes this whole situation a lot less awkward. So please welcome back.
We should have treated this like one of those like TV Christmas specials where we were like, "Is that carolers I hear?
Oh,
why? It's our old friends."
Oh, we could do. We could do that now. It's not too late. I'll just pipe in some sound effects. Oh, do you hear that? What is that, Jameson? It sounds...
Where's that caterwauling coming from?
It sounds like some jovial holiday carolers at the door. Oh, there's a knock. At the door. I wonder
Let's
who
go see
it could
who
be.
it is.
Who should we go? Oh my goodness, what a surprise. I didn't recognize this. It's our old friend. Look, it's our old friend Teshawna Sihata. Oh, welcome. Welcome back. Welcome to our log cabin in the woods where we have who's this with? Oh my goodness, it's Hannah Snider! Oh, ladies,
oh my
welcome.
God, I'm sailing through the neighborhood and decking all the fucking halls. How are you, gentlemen?
Fucking wassailing it up. get in here. How are you doing?
This is what the holidays are all about, being together with friends and
Getting shittered on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hannah, Teshawna, thanks for coming back. Kick off your boots. It's really nasty outside. We got a huge dump of snow last night. I'm going to keep this going for as long as I possibly
Is that
can.
a fire? Is that a Yule log that you have burning right now in the electric
So Yule log, we're
fireplace?
gonna throw
You'll
some chestnuts
find
on that
out.
motherfucker.
It
in a
smells
little bit.
like
It's gonna be great.
KFC. Am I wrong?
Hannah, Teshawna, how have you been since we've seen you last? How has your 2020 been? I know that's a loaded question, but I'll start off with you, Teshawna. How have you been, girl? What's going on?
I mean, it's still March, so that's a thing.
Christmas in March? Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's been March for like the last 9 months, right?
Yeah, we all
Yeah,
know that
time is
time
completely
is stopped.
Yeah,
Essentially,
it was like July for a little bit, and then we just went back to March. Yeah, but I mean, I've been okay. Been home a lot.
As have we all.
Yeah.
good.
I remember early in the quarantine, you did a very wonderful thing where you baked on camera while you finished what made your baking special as special as it was? Was it the copious amounts of drinking wine you were doing?
So very early on in quarantine, I think it was about a month in, I was going crazy because I hadn't left my house. It was really just me and my cats, and I needed to do something that was somewhat social, so I decided I was gonna run a little Facebook live stream of a Teshawna's Drunk Kitchen, and I baked some chocolate chip cookies while simultaneously downing a bottle of wine. My mistake was, there was a few.
Not from what I saw.
I was supposed to start drinking the wine at about 4:30 with the show starting at about 6 so that I would be, a little bit tipsy by the time it started. What actually happened was I had one glass of wine at about 5:45, and then I drank the entire rest of the bottle on the show, which was only about an hour and 20 minutes long, and it was a 1.5-liter bottle of wine. So I was, I was maybe not okay. But
it made for good television, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I was surprised by how many people actually sat and watched the entire thing with me. There was like 140 people watching me make cookies. It was great. I got to talk to a bunch of people, and then I've gone back and I've watched that live stream since, and I think I held myself together pretty well considering how much wine I had. It was what happened after I turned the camera off that was less okay.
I can imagine.
Okay, well, you can't leave us hanging in the air there. What did you do? What happened?
You know when you're drinking and you don't realize how drunk you are until you go to the bathroom?
Wouldn't know anything about that at all.
No.
Except have I told you that I've been in that stage.
So I finished the show, I shut my laptop off, I went to the bathroom, and then I went to go and stand back up, and I was like, no, that is no longer a function that I have, and I had to crawl to my bed, and I went to sleep. What time was that? Was at like 7:45. I passed out, and I woke up at 11:30, and I was still hammered, and I ended up I was starving, and I was like, there's no way, I don't want those cookies.
Wow, it's a special type
I'm drunk and I'm tired, but I gotta have those cookies.
It's a special type of hungover where you don't feel like eating chocolate chip cookies. I have to say, I've never been that hungover that I couldn't at least eat 5 chocolate chip cookies. Usually that's what gets me over my hangover.
I wasn't even hungover yet, though. I was still drunk. So
okay.
You're right in the pocket.
Yeah, this was again very early on. So I ended up ordering McDonald's, which took me a very long time to figure out. And then, like 20 minutes later, my food was delivered, but the guy delivered it to the wrong side of the house. So in my completely trashed state, had to leave my suite, go up to the front of the house, around the corner, down the back steps to the other side of the house, and then I found it like underneath a hedge, and and I did all of this trying to be really quiet because it was 1 a.m. I didn't want to wake up my landlord, and it was pouring rain, but I did it because clearly I'm here and not broken.
And that was at the beginning of quarantine, so I can imagine it's only gotten more dignified since then.
Yeah, when's the next Teshawna's Drunk Kitchen? Because this sounds like a great...
After this episode is over, you better believe I'm looking up Teshawna's Drunk Kitchen.
Hannah, how have you been since we last saw you?
Oh, me? Jeez. Where do I begin? Well, let's see. I live alone, so it's just me and my cats. I've just blossomed into the epitome of any 28-year-old single woman living in East Vancouver. Don't bring in a roommate that's going to pay her rent in crystals. Big mistake.
Like healing crystals for like meditation or
she pulled a midnight move, and when I came home after I was in Victoria for a few days, I walk into my kitchen and I see that she left me Sugnite to prevent EMF radiation.
Wait,
it was nice of her.
She left you legendary rap music producer and psychotic madman Suge Knight to pay your.
Bro,
That's what I heard. I heard Suge Knight.
I'm a metaphysical hippie bitch from the West Coast. I totally get it. And I'm a conspiracy theorist who thinks that the government's after me through my phone. But the point is that she left me these 2 little black rocks with the sticky note that said, this is Sugnite, like SHUGNATE. Look it up. It's a thing, because I sure as hell did. For EMF radiation. And then she emphasized, do not leave near electronics. And I was like, what the is going on? So anyways, yeah, that I definitely had an East Van experience with that. So I just said to my landlord, I was like, give me a price and never again. I am never having a roommate again.
Hell yeah.
May I interest you in some Suge Knight, perhaps?
Now I've never heard of this before. Now I'm just wondering if that's where he got the name from. He was like really into spirituality and crystals and like incense.
Well, they don't allow you to have electronics in prison, so maybe, that's gonna work out just fine.
Maybe. And other than that, I began...
start off in prison. He went to prison after he murdered people. It's not like he began his life in there. He had the name before.
Okay, my drunken ass is having a severe deja vu. I feel like I have had this moment before in my life, but yeah,
this conversation.
No,
well,
it wasn't the actual legendary 90s rapper Suge Knight. It was these 2 little black rocks that were supposed to help prevent EMF radiation. Did they work? I don't know. I threw them out. I was like, bye, bitch.
How does one check for EMF radiation? And on that note, what is EMF radiation? We're really getting into the weeds with this.
We may never know. Let's talk about this fucking movie.
We're gonna hit the half-hour mark before we get to the movie. This is gonna be our most rambling episode
And I became a journalist, guys. I'm in school for journalism. Boo.
Hey, congratulations.
Alright, speaking of journalism, let's talk about, I don't know, there's nothing to do with, I don't know, not all of the segs are good. So, the movie that we're watching today is 1972's ABC's Wild World of Mystery television movie, Home for the Holidays, which is a movie that definitely none of us have watched yet. Nope, we're all totally in the dark, including guests who have been on this show before and are aware of the fact that it is a movie screening podcast.
You said before the Zoom. I'm like, oh shit, I literally have an hour and 20 to watch this fucking movie.
Kaz, I'm gonna have to take Hannah's side on this, only because this is not the first fucking time we've let this slip by our guests to not watch the movie.
But I didn't think I had to explain that to guests who have. You know what? It's nothing. It's a moot point. It doesn't matter.
Well, when you assume you make an ass out of me and you, and we got to be the fucking host of the show, and we're
doing a whole bunch of goddamn lately. It's a big problem.
I knew what Kaz.
I understand our tradition with this podcast. I totally get it. This is the Rosé talking, not me. The initial tradition that we have with this podcast. But I'm like, oh, well, fuck. It's a Zoom thing. Clearly, I have to watch it.
Okay, fair enough.
We're not going to be sitting together.
Fair enough. That is one element that we did not accurately describe. I will give you that. I'm the ass. Clearly, I'm the ass here. This is the end.
Kaz, we love you. It's okay.
This is me.
No, I'm the
relationship I've ever had. Clearly, it's my fault.
I think we can all agree that you're an ass.
Okay. Well, now that we're all on the same page about that, let's move on to Home for the Holidays, not to be confused with the 1995 Jodie Foster directed Thanksgiving comedy starring Holly Hunter and Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr.
He's in that. He's in that
so
movie.
Cute.
Anyone seen that Jodie Foster movie, Home for the Holidays?
Yeah.
Yeah? That's a movie.
I haven't. I saw the poster for the movie that we're watching today, and it kind of looks like a horror film. Like, are we sure this is a Christmas movie?
It's a Christmas horror thriller, you know?
Like Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Black Christmas, and Krampus. And
There you go. You just proved my point. There's a long tradition of counter-programming in Christmas movies. And hey, before we really delve into Home for the Holidays, Teshawna, Hannah, the softest of all softball questions, holiday movies. Who are your favorites?
I really like Elf.
Off.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna top of my drink. You girls talk this out.
What do you like about Elf?
Nothing.
Will Ferrell's a comedic genius, and
I
I
swear to
have
God,
nothing
I'm
but
trying
the
to-
utmost respect for him. Coming in second place is the legendary A Christmas Story, a highlight of most of my childhood. Coming in third would be Home Alone, the first one. The abuse that those men take from a 9-year-old boy, I'll never understand that. Of course, there's the Charlie one, the Charlie Brown thingamajig. It's a great Christmas Charlie Brown. What am I thinking of?
It's a great Christmas Charlie Brown thingamajig, I believe is the title of that movie, yes.
Okay, yeah, that one. And then like Rudolph for shits and gigs. You know,
Are you just
I
saying
love
the song?
Rudolph.
You're just listing every Christmas movie now.
And then to top it off, 3AM classic Jingle All the Way, when you're high on DMT and you're like, well shit, he better get that toy. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, good. Alright, to Shauna, now that she's listed every Christmas special that's existed, which one of
Yeah,
those
you're gonna
is
have
your
to pick
favorite?
all the holdovers.
Yeah, seriously. I'm not even going to justify her first answer with a retort. I don't know. I think my favorite Christmas movie is probably the claymation Rudolph. I think that one's my favorite. I also, a few years ago, for the first time, watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and I do quite enjoy that.
That's one of my
Yes.
favorites. I watched that almost
That's
every
probably
year.
my favorite.
And I also love The Grinch, the Jim Carrey one.
See, okay, that's interesting. I feel that way about that movie the way you feel about Elf. I think
Really?
I think that's a genuinely terrible movie, and I don't understand why people watch that every year.
So I don't watch it every year.
Mhm.
I've probably only seen it like 4 times in my entire life. It's definitely not a good movie, but it's fun on mushrooms.
What I will say about The Grinch, because my family watches it every year, they love it, and I can't stand it, but there is one line that I think is one of the funniest goddamn lines, because it's so random in that movie. So there's the scene in that movie after he becomes like the king of Christmas or whatever, and they're making him judge all of their events and whatnot, and Jeffrey Tambor Mayer is all like, now it's time for him to taste all of the Christmas puddings, and he's sitting in the chair and people are shoving spoonfuls of pudding into his mouth, and then there's one old man, one old who comes by, and right before he shoves his spoon in Jim Carrey's mouth, he goes, "This is not pudding." And they go, "What is it?" And that's it. We never find out what it is. It's the most non sequitur
Oh
line
my
in that
God.
movie. Christ, that makes me laugh every time. This is not pudding. What is it? They never answer it. They never answer what it is.
I love the one when his adopted mothers show up and he's just like, you two are still living?
Yeah.
To be fair, that's how I feel for some of our elderly citizens. I'm like, how the fuck is there...
How did you survive this long?
Not what you
yeah.
want to say during this time and age, but you know.
That live action Grinch is just a nightmare. It's a nightmare committed to celluloid. I don't get it. I would watch it a million times more than I would watch the animated Benedict Cumberbatch one. I've never even seen that, and I have zero desire to.
Excuse me?
Last
Benedict
year, they came out with a
Cumberbatch?
new animated Grinch movie with Benedict Cumberbatch as the Grinch, and it's
Ew.
completely faded from memory, as evidenced by right now.
I've heard that it's terrible.
No, thank you. My mother used to punish me by making me watch made-for-TV Hallmark Christmas films, so...
Hey, speaking of made-for-TV Christmas movies, Home for the Holidays. It was directed by John Llewellyn Moxey, who is a veteran of British film and TV. He directed a few horror films starring Christopher Lee with titles like City of the Dead and Circus of Fear, but it's when he got into TV movies that his film titles started getting super British, including The House That Wouldn't Die, Where Have All the People Gone, and my personal favorite and possibly the most British movie ever made, The Strange and Deadly Occurrence.
These kind of sound like parody versions of like something an American would come up for pretentious British.
It does. It literally sounds like The Strange and Deadly Occurrence is hilarious to me. It's like if someone made a comedy that was called The Gay and Jovial Situation. It's just describing what's going on. He also directed the film The Night Stalker, which would later become the cult TV show Kolchak the Night Stalker, which was about an investigator who dealt with vampires and werewolves and zombies and other spooky stuff. And Home for the Holidays was written by Joseph Stefano, who was the screenwriter of a little movie you might have heard called Psycho.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Really?
Decent credentials right there. Did you just say lame?
No.
I thought Hannah said
Wait,
lame.
I thought I said lame. There's three of
No,
us
I
here.
said, oh, really? Sorry. That's
Oh, really?
the-
Okay.
I'm slurring right now.
I don't
Nice
know.
cover.
I don't know why. I got
Shut
this
up,
feeling.
Jameson.
Well, because Zoom is imperfect and we can't always hear what we're saying. But I don't know. You had your rosé lifted up in one hand, and all my brain was processing was all like, he wrote Psycho. Lame. And you took like a little
To
sip.
be fair, I would have done that. No.
That's on brand. Let's talk about the cast of this movie, which is
Sure.
really impressive. Even some of the names I initially didn't recognize, after I looked up who they were, they still have pretty iconic roles attached to them. So really high-class cast for this 1972 TV movie. Let's start off with someone that I'm sure is a favorite of all of ours, the great Jessica Walter, known, of course,
Fuck yeah!
as Lucille Bluth in Arrested Development and Mallory Archer in Archer.
God, she's like, what a national treasure that woman is. I'm not super familiar with her earlier work, but like, I just love her later career work. Nobody plays fucking bitter battle axes like her. She's amazing.
No, she inspires me to become that when I grow up, straight up. I want to be Lucille Bluth. Just raging alcoholic, should be in AA, doesn't give a fuck about her children, just constantly practices negative reinforcement.
She's a role model for the ages. Yeah. Also in this cast, we have two-time Oscar winner Sally Field, Forrest Gump's mom,
Yeah.
Spider-Man's aunt, one of her earliest roles here. We have Eleanor Parker, who is a triple Oscar nominee. She's known best for her role as the Baroness in The Sound of Music.
Oh, not from G.I. Joe?
Oh, no way! Okay.
That hit a note for
Rings
Hannah.
a bell,
Clearly
rings
right
a bell.
there. Yes, Jameson, I will acknowledge your very funny G.I. Joe reference, yes. I'm sure that was a Sound of Music reference, why they named that character, yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, Hannah, I'm not convinced that you know who this character is or that you've even seen The Sound of Music. That was the fakest.
I am offended!
Oh, yeah!
Teshawna,
right.
punish him. How dare you tell me I auditioned for Maria when I was 17, okay? So don't fucking tell me.
This is the
I don't know the
this is
Sound
the
of Music.
awkward confessional now, where I let you guys know that I've never actually seen The Sound of Music.
Excuse me? You're a
You, of all
karaoke
people,
host.
have never seen The Sound of Music?
I would have guessed, out of the four of us, it would have been Jameson who's never seen The Sound of Music.
I saw a play of The Sound of Music that my grandmother dragged me to when I was a kid.
Oh,
So that's
honey,
why I'm
you
familiar.
mean a musical of The Sound of Music?
You can still call it a play. It's a
Shut up,
musical
Hannah.
play.
Say that to my face. Punish her.
It's just in the-
That's a really weird thing to say when like it's The Sound of Music is a musical. So it's weird to say a musical of The Sound of Music.
Oh, I'm sorry for being an uncultured swine here. I'm only drinking...
Hey, you're more cultured than me. I haven't even seen it.
Which is
True
really
enough, yeah.
weird for a
Let's not change
karaoke
the
host
subject
because you
here.
have
You haven't
3,000
seen-
songs in your playlist. Like,
Teshawna.
people have asked saying do, re, mi.
Yeah, Teshawna, as a karaoke host, how often do people sing songs from The Sound of Music? I can't imagine it's that often.
Never.
Yeah, never. Yeah, it's not like Rocky Horror or something. It's not like people are going out being all like, how do you solve a problem like Maria? And like the drunk guy from the back of the bar is going, yeah, Rodgers and Hammerstein, bro!
Okay, I would be doing that on both accounts. And next time karaoke gets up and going, I'm gonna make sure they sing Sound of Music.
If not for you, then for Teshawna. You know,
I
we
am
gotta,
here for
like,
that
bring her into the
idea.
fold
Yeah,
on
once
this.
everything opens up again and Teshawna can go back to hosting karaoke, I'm getting a whole bunch of my boys together and we're having a purely musical theater night and we're gonna be super supportive of each other and we're gonna say like all the lingo. It's all like, oh, it's song time! Oh, it's busting out, send in the clowns, bro!
As long as it's not wicked, I don't care.
All of it.
I miss my life.
Oh, baby, I know.
You know who else misses her life? Is the next actor who's in this movie. She misses it because she probably died a while ago. The next person in this movie is Julie Harris, who is also an Oscar nominee. She is best known for playing the role of Eleanor in the original 1963 The Haunting, not the CG Liam Neeson, Catherine Zeta-Jones The Haunting. This is like the original black and white Haunting from the 60s. Anyone see that?
I have, actually, on TCM.
That is a movie that holds up. There is no special effects in that movie. It's all done with like camera tricks and the suggestion of spooky stuff happening. It is one of the most terrifying movies to this day. It is still one of the scariest damn things I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, question. Did they remake that?
Yes, they remade it in
With
1999.
Liam Neeson and Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yeah, with Catherine Zeta-Jones,
just
Owen
said that.
Wilson. Very bad, the
Oh,
remake, yes.
that Haunting. Never mind.
Yeah.
Boo. Okay, the old one's better. Never mind.
Because they also did Haunting of Hill House for Netflix. I think that's a different Haunting-based show. I don't know if that's based on the same thing, but I don't know. Haunting-related projects. And the last actor that I'm going to bring up here is 3-time Oscar winner Walter Brennan, who won Best Supporting Actor 3 times, including the very first. He was the very first person ever to win Best Supporting Actor in 1936 for a movie called, and this is true, Come and Get It! That was what they named movies back in the day. So I just thought that was funny.
It's a movie about dinner time in the Old West.
Jameson, I think you actually might be correct about that.
Oh, really? I was being glib.
No.
Is that really what that movie's about?
No joke. I'll look it up over the break. I actually do think that's what that movie is about. Dinner time in the Old West.
Ooh,
Jesus
really
Christ.
cool for Oscar nominees that year. So is this a movie that's like, I guess, predominantly female-led and there's only one dude in the movie?
There's only 8 people in this cast, and yes, predominantly it is a female-centric cast, yes.
Okay.
So that's
Interesting.
kind of neat. Yeah, I guess that's all the information I have. So we can take a break, and we can all go watch Home for the Holidays together, because we are all, of course, together in the same log cabin in the snowy woods. What is that? Oh, do you see that out the window? There's a family of deer. Oh, look at that. There's a family of deer in the snow, and they're grazing on a mulberry bush. Oh, this is lovely. Oh, what a
Jameson's
lovely
putting
December
on his
afternoon.
boots and he's gonna go build a snowman outside.
Oh, yeah, I still gotta put up the lights. I gotta set up the Santa display. Got some shortbread to bake. I'm a busy man here, so you guys enjoy the film.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry, Kaz, I think Hannah and I both seem a little too drunk to be carrying on any kind of these elaborate bits, so...
Teshawna's kicking me out of the kitchen because I screwed up on
Yeah.
making the stollen. Yeah, it's a mess.
yeah, Hannah, we need to throw some Hanukkah bits into this too. So yeah, because we're still. What night of Hanukkah is it? Is it the 5th night?
It's
know.
right
Which
now.
one
It's
she's
the
at?
4th.
I was in the same ballpark.
So.
So what do we do on the 4th night of Hanukkah?
Oh, hell do I know? I don't know. I just lit the fourth night candle thing on my menorah here, and I still have I have potatoes in the fridge. I have to make latkes, so that's probably something I'm gonna do when I've sobered up.
All right, well, we're gonna go take a break, watch a movie, make some drunken potato latkes, and when we come back, we'll tell you all about the murderous goings-on of Home for the Holidays, which is about murder and poison. I completely forgot to tell you what the plot of the movie was, but that's fine. That doesn't matter. We'll take a break, and we're
about
see
to
you
find out.
after this.
Stay tuned, everybody. Like many other things we've endured throughout this year, the holiday season of 2020 is going to look very different from what we're used to. Normally a time of togetherness and traditions and cherished moments with our loved ones, this year will be about coping with the realities of our COVID-19 health restrictions. As we all know, this year has been tough and tragic for many. And usually, it's the comfort we get from our family and communities and holiday practices that are the sort of things that help to see crises like this through. But I encourage all of you to be safe this year and continue the COVID safety precautions as we face another long winter with the realities of this virus. And I urge patience as the promise of a vaccine is right around the corner. That said, there is never a doubt that people will want to honor their holiday traditions and gatherings, to maintain a sense of normalcy to what we've always had and hope to never lose. So with all that in mind, today's charity spot is a rather obvious one, but also a kind of unconventional one, and also something that I hope is not too late to get the word out on. For this holiday season, and into the new year, I would encourage us all to support local businesses. Ignore the big box chain and online retailers. They're doing just fine. It's the neighborhood startups and first-time business owners that could really use a hand this holiday season. It's the small fish retailers and restaurants and suppliers in our own backyard that recirculate money back into the local economy and provide jobs into our community. In this exceedingly difficult year, supporting local businesses is the best way we can directly help working families and individuals in these times. And there's no better time to do that than with the biggest shopping season of the year. So, if you have a Christmas shopping list to get through, and you actually want to make sure your spending money gets back to the community you live in, a good place to start looking is to check out bcbuylocal.com, bcmarketplace.ca, or supportlocalbc.com, and go from there. You can filter searches by your town and find hundreds of local Canadian-owned and operated independent businesses who will help you get everything you need for the special someones in your life. Again, those sites are bcbuylocal.com, bcmarketplace.ca, or supportlocalbc.com.
And we're back! We're back from watching dramatic zoom close-up the movie.
Yeah, the earliest soap opera slasher film I have ever seen.
Yeah, it's one of the first, and as we were watching that movie all together in our quaint log cabin in the woods, far away from the rest of civilized society, did you all notice that there was an abrupt change in the weather? The snow stopped, and rain clouds started forming, and became very dark and stormy all of a sudden. And
It was a very West Coast Christmas.
It's continuing right now. You can hear the constant sound of thunder in the background. It's become very ominous all of a sudden. It's become a very ominous Christmas. Yes.
Yeah, Jameson slipped on the slash while he was bringing in more logs from chopping down in the forest, so it was like, fuck.
And I was banging around a piece of sheet metal out there, too, to symbolize the lightning. My God, the lightning effect in this movie. It was practically a character in itself. It knew exactly when to jump in and had a personality all of its own. There was one moment...
not to be upstage.
Absolutely not. There was one line in particular where Sally Field's character says something like, family's going to be abandoning each other one by one, and Sally Field says, I'm still here. Lightning jumped in.
Yeah, there were a lot of dramatic thunder and lightning cues when a character would say something ominous or reveal some information. And then there were a handful of times where there was a thunder and lightning cue that did not deserve to be there. That was definitely one of them. This was the least amount of notes that I have taken so far for a movie we've watched.
I have a little more than half a page.
Just one.
This is a strict
one-pager. Because let's just get this out of the way. This movie is a 22-minute episode of The Twilight Zone or Tales of the Crypt that has been laboriously stretched into an hour and 15 minutes. And the only thing filling up that time is reaction shots galore.
And very slow pans.
Yes.
And shots of women descending down and up a large spiral staircase.
That was the drinking game we came up while we were watching this. Finish your drink every time someone descends the grand staircase in the boudoir. You will be wasted within minutes. So what did we think of 1972's Home for the Holidays? We're all in the Christmas spirit, yes?
I don't know, man. My face feels pretty numb right now, so I just kind of gave up on the drinking game.
She's been into the Christmas spirit since before we started.
The Christmas spirits.
Woo!
Yeah.
God, I
feel like a lot of people are going to be upset by what I'm about to say, but this movie...
You wish it was Elfman. I get it. I totally...
No Elfman, no Elf, none of that. But yeah, just watching.
There's a thing for elves.
It was could have almost been written by if Stephen King was a D-rated author. You know what I mean? Stephen King.
Yes.
Story writer.
Yes.
Pumps his short stories full of bullshit to make a book to sell it. That's what this movie was.
It's as if Stephen King was writing Harlequin romance novels just to make a couple of bucks, for shits and gigs. Yeah. He would write something like this.
This would be if he took a slumming gig writing a daytime soap opera.
Yeah, if Stephen King pumped out a bunch of bullshit short stories, as if that's not what he's been doing for the past 3 decades. Look, Stephen King's written some great stuff, but the majority of the stuff he does is garbage.
Stephen King is a short story writer who needs to sell books, so he takes his short stories. Sometimes he sells them as collections, and they're great. And then sometimes you end up with things like Dreamcatcher.
It.
It's 400 pages of scenery, and I really don't need that. And that is what this movie was.
Yeah, 400 pages of scenery, and you're just going there, get to the aliens that come out of the assholes. That's what we want. That, by the way, is literally what the plot of Dreamcatcher is. Gosh, what the hell to say about this? Yeah, this is... I mean, like, I agree with you, Teshawna, as someone who labored through all 900 pages of It last summer. Yeah, Stephen King is definitely one of those writers that has a really good germ of an idea, and then he just builds it out. Oh god, does he ever just pad the fuck out of those stories. This is padded beyond belief. Sorry, what was that, Hannah?
But I didn't say anything.
Oh, Teshawna's a little frozen. Okay, I can't even tell. This'll be fun, because there's still so much technical difficulties with Zoom. This is gonna be a lot of talking over people here.
Yeah, my brain is also quite pickled, so I'm trying to remember what the initial plot of this movie was, but also...
I'm pretty sure it's that everything is fine as long as you can still go up the stairs.
And as long as you don't own a pair of red rain boots.
And there's a lot of tension between family members, and you're so ready to cast aspersions against the stepmother that you've already decided you don't like because she's got a sketchy history. I don't know. There is so much melodrama going on in this, and it's kind of funny watching these actresses trying to out-act each other when they're all supposed to have like these really tense relationships. It was really fun for me to imagine that at least 3 of the women in this movie, it would be funny if they hated each other when the cameras weren't rolling. That's
Oh, they probably did.
I can see this being kind of fun for a lot of actress friends who are really close-knit to sit down together for girls' night or whatever and pick out, I love this character. I would love to play this kind of bitter spinster kind of character. I would love to play this one that has like a million husbands. I would love to play like the naive college student. I would love to play like fucking finishing school reject matron one. Like,
Jameson, how did you know how a girls' night worked? Amazing. Teshawna, we need to do this next time.
I'm a red-blooded male and I have an imagination. It's that and pillow fights in lingerie, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, the sweatier the better. We always make out afterwards.
I knew it.
I was Teshawna's roommate for a few months. I know how it works.
Hey.
Hey.
So we could run down the plot of this movie, but honestly, I'm more interested in seeing if our esteemed guests can run down the plot of this movie, particularly Hannah with her pickled brain. I'd love to hear her take on the
with her full glass of rosé.
On the plot machinations of this. Yes.
Okay, listen. Here's the deal. Okay,
this is gonna be the
once
best
upon a
Christmas
time,
ever.
in some place in Southern California, well, I'm gonna say like the middle part of California that everyone tries to ignore. You're not yet in wine country and you're not yet in Hollywood. You're like in that low level, poor area where people kinda don't want to go. And it's
poor at all. It
just
looked really nice.
It looked
like a palatial
Yes, maybe
estate
you
that
and I
was
should
so
take the
nice
reins on
that
this.
there were no other houses around it.
I will say, in that last shot of the movie, I was a little confused because, like, they're in this mansion, and then it looks like a farmhouse. But like a rundown.
It's a large family estate.
They split the difference,
on a ranch.
Yeah.
It's a large palatial ranch.
It's old money. It's a ranch. It's an estate. It's like, we have land, you don't. Fuck all of y'all. It sort of reminded me of White Christmas, where they're like, where's the snow at the ski lodge? And you know what I mean? Anyways, irrelevant. Okay, so you have this paranoid, senile old man. He's like, my wife's gonna kill me. And then you have this chick who's like, yo, dad, I'm gonna go pick up the others. Who are the others? Yes. We don't know. And it's like, is this... But you're thinking, you're like, okay, look, she's hot, she's matured, respect. Who is this woman? Ends up being the eldest daughter, Alex. Okay, cool. Hot name for a woman. And then she goes, and he's like, she's trying to kill me. And she's like, no, Dad, you're just old and paranoid. I get it. We all get like that at this time. And then
we all get like that at this time of year. We all think our significant other is slowly poisoning us.
It wasn't without reason. So, like, the dad's new wife here, her previous husband died under mysterious circumstances, and the whole town believes that she had murdered him. It was like this huge suspicion thing. She was never convicted, but like she has this reputation of being like a black widow kind of thing. Sure. So now the dad thinks that he's going to fucking get murdered by her again.
And also, the original wife, the mother of the 4 daughters, the father was having an affair with this stepmother while he was still married to the first mother, and there's a certain amount of animosity amongst the adult daughters now because they think that their mother essentially died of a broken heart. So she's the new wife, yes, but they've also been married for, let's say, several...
They're married for 9 years. This is what I don't understand.
This one thing. This is the one thing.
This is the one thing out of this entire movie. Why the fuck would you go ahead and marry someone that the entire town is telling you she murdered her husband? And you're just like, I don't care until I'm on my initial deathbed. Yeah. I like to live with a little danger. You know what I'm saying? I don't get it. Jameson, honey, explain.
Yeah, Jameson. Babe, honey.
If someone was telling you, don't go out with this chick, she's batshit crazy, she murdered her husband, would you say, wow, I'm kinda into it, and go ahead and date her?
But are you familiar with my past dating history?
I will cop to that. There are people that I have entered into romantic relationships with that multiple people warned me ahead of time, don't do this, and I absolutely did it. And shocker, they turned out to be right.
She's so hot, though.
Yeah.
See, I've had men warn against me, and they've still pursued me, and then it turned out they were the crazy one. So it's like, anyway.
The wife at the end there, she's the one that he was cheating on their mother with, right? So, yes. I mean, the same could be said in the other direction. Like, why would you marry somebody that left you by cheating on their wife?
Yes.
Well, I think the movie kind of alludes to the fact that I'm going to say that, like, even though, like, they are... So this town seems, like, very spread out. So I'm going to imagine the population is, like, relatively low. So I'm going to assume this new mother, the stepmother, whose name is Elizabeth, I'm going to assume that, A, she's one of the only eligible women in town, and B, the dad really wanted sons. He had... All his children are daughters, and they all have male names. You know, there's Alex, there's Chris, there's Joe, and there's Freddie.
Yeah.
And they're all supposed to be like Frederica, Joanna, Christine, and Alexandra, I imagine.
Yes.
So, yeah. So
how do you know if it's Joanna? What if it's Josephine?
Oh my god.
Or what if it's Alexandria? Get off my fucking case on it.
It's just so funny because he's like, well, she might kill me, but I also might get a son, so...
I don't remember them mentioning... Like, this isn't Game of Thrones here. I don't, remember them mentioning that's specifically why Elizabeth and the father got together is because he desperately wanted a son. That's certainly something we're reading into based on the character names, which I have to admit, once that was pointed out, it's all like, yeah, that's not just a coincidence. That was a definite choice of the screenwriter. I want to circle back to something Jameson was saying earlier about how his assumption is that all of these actresses hated each other. I think a seed of evidence can come from the opening minutes of this movie when we get to the billing. The billing is really interesting in this. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to billing. I think it's really interesting how some people get certain credits. So, just by looking up this cast on the IMDb, you would assume it would just be the names of the actresses in alphabetical order, and then maybe at the end, and Walter Brennan, because he's like the old hat who's been around since like the 1920s. But the billing is so weird because it's Sally Field, and then it's Joe, the other daughter, who's played by an actress I'm not terribly familiar with, Jill Haworth. But then it's guest star Julie Harris, and then special guest star Eleanor Parker, and then featuring Jessica Walter. So there was some sort of... They clearly all had agents that were working hard to get them extra money. Because the whole title, I'm not a super expert on it, but the whole title in the billing thing, it has to do with money and how well known you are as a known commodity. So there were at least 3 of them that were all fighting for some sort of special billing treatment. Because this billing's a mess.
You make sure that I'm a special guest star over that fucking bitch.
Yeah. like Eleanor Parker, who plays Alex, the oldest daughter, what about that character makes her a special guest star over the guest no one's a guest star. This isn't fucking an episode of Happy Days. It's a movie. Everyone is in it together.
You see stuff like guest starring, or whatever, or special guest, so you assume like this is a middle of the pack episode of a long running TV series, or like this is like a pilot of a show, but no, this is a fucking TV movie. No one is a guest. They're all featured players in this story.
So they basically just didn't want to give, like, they didn't want to give, like, second-rated characters, admit the fact that they were second on the list. Like, there's no main character. Like, they're giving all these lead actresses as in, like, well, you're not a lead of the story, but you're still a lead actress. Does that make sense? My drunken ass making any sense?
I just imagine, like, Jessica Walters showed up for her first day on set, and she found out, did you hear what that bitch Eleanor, but she got the special guest star. She's like, I want it special. Well, what's left? It's like, we can give you a featuring. It's like, fucking featuring. And she just starts pouring her first drink, like, right there on the set.
She grabs the vodka and walks up that staircase.
You don't feature Jessica Walter.
And then the director's just really like, shit, start filming. She's going up the stairs. We gotta get this on camera. We need to get as many shots of these ladies going up and down these stairs as possible.
They quickly rewrote her character to be like the alcoholic, so that's why those weren't prop bottles of Jim Beam or whatever in her room. Like, she just brought that shit with her on set.
I feel a little
she
bad.
She was never meant to be the alcoholic sister.
I feel very bad. It is very easy to stereotype Jessica Walter as an alcoholic based on Arrested Development and Archer. She just plays that archetype so well. And this is funny. This is like one of the only other things I've ever seen her in. And yeah, she's playing a booze and pills sozzled a society lady. And
the addiction shaming, the addiction and slut shaming brought on by the father, I find is appalling.
Well, it was the 70s, and he's an old toad of a man.
But telling his middle daughter is in like,
Joe, I stopped counting the husbands after the third.
So did I. After I found out you didn't have to marry them to sleep with them.
As I remember it, you found that out in junior high school.
I'm like, whoa, Dad. Like, my electro complex is on fire. I was like, excuse me? Don't you be throwing that shit around.
That's why he was desperate for sons, because he just has a real problem with his daughters. So yeah, there's the Alex, who's like the old responsible one, who's caretaking for Dad, and he's the one who says, hey, I need you to summon all your sisters here, because it's like,
I need you to summon your sisters. I need you to light the torches.
Not because it's fucking Christmas time, but because I think my new wife is trying to kill me. So yeah, so Alex brings them all there. There's Joe, the one that's been that's been married 100 times. There's Jessica Walter, who plays Freddie. She's like the alcoholic, addicted to pills lady. And then there's Sally Field as Christine, the youngest and most, I don't know, the nicest.
She's like the sweet one. She's the young one, but as such, there's not a single defining characteristic about her, really. She's just like the nice child.
Yeah.
But like,
and everyone talks to her like, oh, you silly, deluded girl. You don't understand. Very soap opera-y.
But look, as I said at the beginning of this... What? Sorry, go ahead.
The doctor.
No, I just wanted to bring up the hot doctor. She took a fancy to him as a teenager, apparently.
So what was going on with that doctor? The dad refused to see the doctor? Even though he kept popping by? Because it's always alluded that the stepmom, who he is convinced is trying to poison him, she admits that, no, she called the doctor to come over and take a look at him. And he said, no, I don't want to see the doctor. Even though the doctor, Dr. Lindsay, keeps dropping in.
Yeah, this doctor always seems to conveniently be on the road. Whenever one of the main daughters is outside of the house and needs to advance the plot, this doctor always seems to be on the road driving down that patch of dirt at that particular moment. It's kind of like building up it's sort of like a red herring thing. Like, oh, maybe this doctor's in on it. No, he's just a very convenient story beat. I don't know. Mm-hmm. That's kind of all there is to say about Dr. Ted Lindsay. Wow. We've hit a bit of a lull. What else happens in this movie? So, look. So there's...
Murders happen.
Murders happen. So there is a killer. There's like I know what you did last summer inspired killer, like a long yellow raincoat.
I mean, other way around, like I know what you did last summer has a home for the holidays inspired killer.
Yes. I don't know how this movie slasher never caught on with the general audiences. The red booted holiday menace could have had Could have had 6 sequels.
The yellow raincoat killer, is very identifiable in their yellow rain jacket, which actually comes in handy later in the movie where there's a chase during the darkened woods and you can actually follow the killer because they're in a yellow rain jacket. But yeah, just starts picking off the sisters one by one in very safe for TV kills.
Yeah, I mean, it was sanitized. Like, you couldn't show blood and gore and guts on ABC in 1972. The problem is there's so few characters in this. It doesn't really make for that much of a slasher movie. This movie, if it needed to, like, pad out the runtime, it needed to introduce a bunch of unnecessary side characters who only exist to... I mean, like, right at the very end, they have, like, a sheriff and a deputy show up. We need to establish them a little earlier, and then they come back midway through, and then they get killed. But, yeah, it's really just the 2 daughters, really. So, Joanna is the first one to go. This is, like, the least written character out of all of them, because she doesn't really stick around long enough for anything to happen. She shows up with the other daughters at the same time. She's there for one awkward dinner with the stepmom, and then she pieces out of the movie. But before she can even get into the car, she's stabbed with a pitchfork.
And they don't find the body until a couple of days later. No one ever goes to the barn to check to see, to do any kind of chores or whatever. They just never notice that. They just assume that she's gone. And another character dies before they start getting suspicious of there's murder afoot around here. And it's only when Sally Field goes running around looking for the neighbor's house later on in the movie that when she comes back, she just stumbles upon Joanna's body. No one gives a shit about this kid.
Well, because she's the party sister, so everyone assumes that she's out partying because, yeah, all of the sisters, well, not all of the sisters, but, most of the sisters, they're, ascribed a vice or something that I guess is supposed to make them
Are they really? Or is she really the party girl? She seemed like the least fun of the bunch.
Yeah, because this movie's so short, they don't bother to really establish characteristics for everybody. They just need to, I don't know, they need to get the kills started.
Stepmom brings up, she's like, yeah, Jo and all her parties that she goes to. But that's weird, though. It's like, she's not the pill-popping alcoholic. So it's like, is the pill-popping alcoholic one that doesn't like to party and just, does that shit on her own? And then Jo goes to all these parties so that she can meet all her husbands? I don't know.
That's what the assumption is. It seems like it's fun to talk about Jessica Walter, so let's just talk about Jessica Walter for the rest of the podcast.
So hot.
She is the only great presence in the movie, I think.
Well, Sally Field's also really good.
Yes, but it's a very audience cipher kind of character. She's the one who's getting chased by the murderer in this horror movie, so she's not too stand-out-ish of a character. She gives a good performance, but she's not really a larger-than-life character, whereas Jessica Walter is the fucking pill-popping alcoholic. I mean, there's this one scene early in the movie where they all go downstairs, everyone but Jessica Walter, they go downstairs to have the most fucking passive-aggressive Christmas dinner ever with the stepmom, where she even drops the line,
I will tell you this. If a nightmare like that should ever happen again, if for some evil reason I'm ever accused by anyone of killing, the next time, I will not be the one who wakes up screaming.
And then smash cut to Jessica Walter screaming her head off.
Yeah, and threatening to, she's cut herself, she's got a broken glass in her hand, she's pouring her heart and soul to a framed picture of what I thought was herself.
Yes,
talking about how she
I
misses
thought
her
the same
mom.
thing too. So yeah, it's the mother, it's the original mother, it's the mother of all of the daughters, but for some reason whoever painted that portrait made her look exactly like Jessica Walter, specifically made her look exactly like Jessica Walter looks in that scene. Because it's such an accurate representation, it looks like she's looking into a mirror. But I guess that comes from casting 4 actresses who don't necessarily look related. They had to base the mother on someone. But she's ranting and raving, smearing blood all over the portrait of the mother for some deep foreshadowing. And then she goes to take a rum-soaked dip in the tub. Then the killer strikes.
Yeah, she dies when the killer drags her by the ankles and submerges her under the tub. She doesn't try to resist the drowning, I guess presumably because she's drunk.
She died doing what she loved, swallowing liquid.
God.
Counts? That's still like a form of that's probably why she was just so used to, I don't know. This is a hard movie to make fun of.
Nothing happened.
We should have watched Elfman. I'm sorry. I'm still standing by that.
For the audience, because this is the 5th time we've brought this up. Okay, so I gave Teshawna and Hannah a choice of 5 movies to choose from, and one of them was a movie called Elfman, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a movie about an elf who becomes a superhero. Jameson and Teshawna were dead set against it, but yes, as Hannah is keen to remind us currently right now, we probably should have watched Elfman. We probably would have gotten more material out of that.
This movie had 2-minute scenes eating up the timeline of just walking out of a fucking kitchen and turning off the kitchen light, carrying a glass of milk and honey. It's just so long and drawn out. But yet at the end, I don't know why, but I was like, I'm kind of into the suspense. I'm like, who is the killer?
It could have been a little... Well, sorry, go on.
No, it's okay. I don't want to give it away for the audience because you're clearly going to see this.
Yes,
but,
clearly everyone's sitting on the edge of their seat waiting for us to reveal who the killer is, yes.
Yeah, we're doing such a good job describing it. But, like, the movie almost kind of gets close with dropping clues with this movie. They keep, zooming in on the red rubber gloves of the killer, and whenever they show up in the house, or, like, the yellow rain jacket, it's in, like, certain rooms. So they are trying to do little bits of visual clues or foreshadowing as to who the killer could be. Like at one point, the stepmom puts on the red rubber gloves. At another point, Alex, she has the yellow raincoat hanging up in the kitchen with her. At one point, the stepmom is like seen outside in the rain relatively close to the time that Joanna is killed. So it's trying to throw you off. It's trying to like clue you into it. It's getting close to it. And I think it didn't nail it because, this was like a TV budget movie for the 70s, and we're just so attuned to like those visual clues of horror movie cliches now.
And also there's such a small economy of characters to choose from. You figure out who the killer is pretty obviously. I mean, I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but I kind of figured it out 5 minutes into the movie. I mean, are we at the point yet of revealing who's behind everything? Because it's fairly unspectacular.
I mean, we're reaching the point right now where, like, our conversation is longer than the movie. So
we often do that on this show. The podcast is often longer than the actual movie that we watch. But, I mean, it's...
And much more interesting in this case.
Yeah, there's no huge reveal. So, Jo, the party sister, gets killed in the car, and her body is discovered later. Jessica Walter drowns in the bathtub, and everyone finds her body, and there's a big reveal there. And then on, I guess, Christmas Eve? They're not super clear about the timeline here, but I believe it's...
No, it's Christmas Day.
Christmas Day Eve. It was one of those 3-day thunder and lightning storms, so it's really hard to tell when...
monsoon season.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell when one evening ends. By the way, great production value for a TV movie from the 70s. It's constantly raining, but it's the type of rain where you can tell it's one person just off camera holding a big fire hose, because the characters will be standing under the rain, but then just off of camera you can see like the other part of the lawn, and it's dry as a bone. So
camera pans just to the left, and there's like clear skies abound. So Sally Field keeps trying to like call the sheriff for help or whatever, but like the line's dead, which sounds like a fucking cat in a merry-go-round.
It's so weird. I don't know if that was like a 70s thing or what, but she keeps trying to phone out and the line is down, but for some reason it sounds like Donald Duck getting a blowjob.
Is that getting or giving a blowjob? Yeah, she says, like, I'm gonna walk 1 mile in the stormy weather to the neighbors, see if their phone is still working. She gets chased through the woods by the yellow raincoat killer.
Very reminiscent of, there's a lot of iconography from this movie that's ended up in other movies that I can't help but wonder if maybe someone saw it once and then, but when she's getting chased through the woods by like the killer in the yellow jacket, and it kind of reminded me of The Village. Anyone see that terrible movie? No?
But
All right.
I can imagine that more so than this informing other horror movies, these are just really well-worn conventions. And this movie didn't so much break any new grounds as it like really followed like a horror movie formula. I wanted to ask you actually, how many other slasher mystery, like who can the killer be kind of movies were there around this time?
All I can say for certain that I know is that this is like a Christmas horror movie that predates the most famous Christmas horror movie, Black Christmas. That came out in 1978, 1979, I think. So it's interesting to see something that happened even earlier. Of course, this was for TV. It wasn't for, like, features. But anyway, Sally Field's being chased. I mean, like, there's no... Also, before she gets chased through the wood... Is it... No, it's after. It's after she gets chased through the woods that she comes back and she discovers that the father is dead. I don't even think we see the body of that. We're just kind of told that the father is dead.
Yeah. She notices the raincoat killer has red boots, and that's gonna come back a little later. When she gets back to the ranch house, she sees Elizabeth, the stepmom, walking around in the rain with a yellow raincoat, and she's convinced that, oh my god, she actually is the murderer. She has been killing people. I'm gonna lock her out of the house, and we're gonna have this stupid cat and mouse scene that goes on for way too fucking long, and she's gonna find ways to get back into the house.
This was endless. This scene of Sally Field hiding from the stepmom, it felt like at least half of the movie. We know it's not her. If it turns out to be the stepmom, this will be the most pointless fucking movie, but you're giving so much time, and you're trying to convince us so much that the stepmom is the killer, and it's just like, no, we know there's a fucking twist coming, and at that point it's all like, well, we know who the killer is because there's only one person left that it could be, and that person, of course, is Dr. Lindsay. I saw it coming. No, of course, it's Alex. It's Alex, the oldest sister, because Sally Field runs away, and then on like a dirt road, the car pulls up, and Alex is behind. He's all like, Alex, they're all dead. And she's like, I know, Sally Field. I was the one behind it the entire time. And they flip the evil switch immediately.
She was never like a good motherly kind of character. She always had like very finishing school way of talking, very cold, and she wasn't like the bad sister, but she wasn't like really a sister you can see yourself getting along with.
Well, I was confused midway through because it seemed to me, because the audio quality wasn't great, but it seemed to me like half of the sisters were just British for no reason. Like they all just had like that very mannered, educated way of speaking.
That transatlantic accent that is so popular, or was so popular with films like this back in the day. It was very old Hollywood.
I guess modern day Jessica Walter still speaks like that too. She has that very upper class, educated, high society sort of way of speaking when she's in things now. So yeah, maybe that's that. Sally Field didn't talk like that. Sally Field sounded like a regular old American girl.
It's part of Jessica Walter's training too. Sometimes it's hard to break that when you've been taught like you need to speak in a certain manner. And Sally Field is just of a different generation.
She's the youngest. She hasn't gone through that finishing school that all the other daughters went through.
Well, she started, but she didn't finish.
I see. So yeah, Alex says, all my sisters are fucking freeloaders or basket cases or whatever.
She says it just like that. That's an actual line from the movie.
Whatever she says, I don't want to take care of you guys anymore, and now I don't have to. And then she beats her upside the head with a tire iron and pushes her down a ravine, and we assume that she's dead.
Because that would kill anyone under any circumstances. But yeah, when Alex takes a look with a flashlight, Sally Field has crawled away. She can't quite follow her to finish the deal because yet again, Dr. Lindsay pulls up in his sedan, and Alex has to pretend the stepmom killed them and whatnot. Yes, it's such a flimsy reason to want to snap and murder your entire family. You all want things from me. I'm always the one that solves all of the problems. Well, not anymore. It's like, really? That's the reason you decided to kill everyone in your bloodline because they were asking you to do stuff?
Well, by the sound of it, the entire family is estranged, but they seem to be taking care of themselves well enough. Like, yes, one is an addict and the other is living too much of a party lifestyle, but they seem to be high-functioning addicts, and they're not really coming to you for like a handout or whatever. If anything, Alex is the one who's inconveniencing their lives, telling like, hey, come on over to the family estate, Dad wants to see us all. They're uprooting their lives to go see her. They're uprooting their lives to get murdered.
Yeah, especially after 9 years of trying to avoid their father. I just find that Alex has like that older sibling syndrome where like you have to take on the parent role.
I am the oldest sibling of my family and I've never felt that.
Yeah, but you're also a man, so it's
Men can be matrons if they try hard enough, if they put their minds to it.
I don't know. To be fair, I'm the only daughter in my family, but I've had to help raise my 2 older brothers. So it's sort of like the oldest daughter thing of where it's
well, in their defense, they're males.
Yeah. I can attest to that my younger sister did a lot of my raising and development. So yeah, no, that absolutely tracks. I mean, there's some other plot details that they mention early on. They say at the beginning that the daughters at one point were removed from his will, but he's recently put them back in the will. So that may have something to do with the fact that they've all decided to come down. I mean, it would help if a lot of these characters were fleshed out a little little bit more. Maybe if before, it might be better if most of their first scene in the movie wasn't Alex going to pick them up from the airport. Maybe if they all had an individual scene showing their lives not at the house beforehand, we could find out, oh, here's a little bit more about Jessica Walter, here's a little bit more about Joanna and whatnot. We can see them in their element. We can see her at a party. We can see her at home. Well, I mean, all she does is drink booze throughout the entire movie, but, you know, it's like, give us something. Show us their whole lives or something.
They didn't have the fucking budget to do other scenes and other locations.
That is true.
That's why the whole movie takes place in and around this fucking farmhouse. So the next day, Alex goes back to the house to like identify the body or whatever and like tell the sheriff to arrest the stepmom. But the doctor says, oh, I found Chris. She's in the other room laying on the bed. And Alex goes and sees Sally Field lying in the bed. But, she's alive and must have obviously told the whole story to the doctor and divulged the truth to the police or whatever. So Alex is hauled away, laughing maniacally.
Doesn't even attempt to do the old pillow over the face or anything like that, because no one's watching her. They're ostensibly in a room alone together. But yeah, Sally Field slowly opens her eyes, and Alex completely loses her mind and just starts, like, laughing like the Joker. They haul her away, and the movie ends. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah,
I mean, like, this is an obvious TV movie, padding it out, playing scenes so that they play better for commercial breaks. It's just like an episode of Murder, She Wrote. It's kind of dull, but you have to going until the end because the reveal of the killer is going to happen in the last 5 minutes, and you have to stay tuned so you can find out what's going on. I don't know.
I feel really bad for the stepmom. Her life has just gotten, it's already complicated, but it's gotten way more complicated now. Like, before the movie, like, she was accused of murdering her former husband. She had, like, an illicit affair with her current husband, and now most of his children are now dead, and she's kind of at the center of it all. I don't think she is ever going to have, like, a day's peace in her life.
Well, but now that the majority of this family is dead, including the patriarch, his will go into effect, and now it's just going to be split in even 2 ways between the survivors of this massacre. So, yeah, I mean, I feel a little bad for her, but she's still alive, and she came out on the other end with more money than she probably would have had anyway, so,
Little suspicious, if you ask me.
Gotta look on the bright side. Yeah, maybe there's a narrative here of...
It really is like her and Sally Field's words against a bunch of dead people.
Alright, is there anything left to say about Home for the Holidays?
I think that was a lot for a movie that didn't have a lot of substance.
Yeah, we did we did all right.
I got 2 things I want to bring up. The scene where they go downstairs to have the Christmas dinner, and everything's all decorated, and they have like the 4-course meal or whatever. One of the sisters remarks,
"Oh, how Christmassy! You'd really think we were home for the holidays."
Like, technically you are.
Yeah. Given the circumstances, you are home, and it is the holidays. They just needed to find a way to drop that title in there somewhere, and that was the only place that made any sense.
And the other thing I wanted to mention, and this is probably just something I noticed, one of the first times that the doctor comes by to the house and he's chatting it up with Sally Field, she's kind of just laying out like the whole history of the family drama of like who the stepmom is and like why the sisters have like such suspicions about him and why there's questions of like whether or not the dad's getting poisoned and why they're not going to the sheriff about all this. When the doctor leaves the house and he says like, "Oh, I'll see you later, Sally Field. I'll pop by next time." When his back is turned to her as like he's leaving the house, the look on his face is like, "Oh my fucking God, this family. Oh, Jesus.
This piece of shit
like,
movie
maybe
I'm
I'll
in."
give it a couple of days before I swing by again. Like, I felt really bad for that doctor.
I'm just looking at my notes here trying to find anything. I just found a note that is confusing because I don't know what it means. I wrote down cars that could hear sunshine. Why did I write cars that could hear ears. Ears that could hear sunshine.
It's because when all the daughters went into the bedroom to have like their first collective meeting with the father.
The father said that, right.
That woman has ears that can hear sunshine.
I don't understand where that reference is. It's like, what the fuck does that mean?
It means
There is so much thunder and lightning happening, so much fucking sheet metal at all the wrong times that I'm like, sunshine, what could that be?
That's not even like the best line that comes from the dad. I think the best one is like when they say like, oh, why don't you go to the cops about your new wife who like potentially killed before and may kill again. I guess like he's too proud to admit that he married a murderer.
My father would rather be murdered than laughed at.
The righteous don't laugh. They cluck.
The fuck is that supposed to mean?
I don't know. It
means that when somebody does something stupid, you don't laugh at them. You go.
Oh shit! What? I thought that was just a tisk. I had no idea. You cluck like a fucking chicken. Okay, best line I found from that movie was when that Joe was it? Yeah, Joe was the one that was first to get murdered.
Party sister.
The party sister, the divorcee 3-time winner. She comes out the car and is like,
"Tell me exactly what this family crisis is. You can drive me back to the airport." "Please, Joe." "What's wrong, Alex? Is father ill?" "He's dying." "Is that the only reason you made us come back?"
I was like, oh,
is that it? Little things like that.
Oh, let me crank up the heat in my apartment. Fuck.
Speaking of fucking Jessica Walter, I could see that line being dropped in Arrested Development.
Arrested Development is one thing, but this wasn't Jessica Walter, honey. This was Joe. This was the 3-time divorcee. Fuck, now I forgot her name. Freddie was the one that was, Mom loved me.
Yeah.
And then drowns in the bathtub. And I honestly will never understand that bathtub drowning. Just pulling someone by the ankles and I'm like, you can fight back. What are you doing?
She was blackout drunk, though.
Not only that, but she had lost a lot of blood.
I've been blacked out drunk, and I've still been able to throw a few punches.
I don't know.
Unwillingly.
As someone who struggled with alcoholism very recently, I can attest to getting so drunk that if I were to fall asleep in a bathtub, someone could do whatever they wanted to with me, and I would not be able to fight back. I wouldn't even be conscious enough to do anything.
Touche. I mean, last time I had alcohol poisoning, I did fall asleep in the bathtub, and then she was like, wait a second, that's a great pose. Can you just wait while I take photos? And then she...
Who was this taking photos of you in the bathtub, blackout drunk? That sounds like a story.
You know what? It was the week of the election, and I had such a heavy week with the stress of the U.S. election and school that I went out on a Friday night, and just got severely hammered.
During a pandemic where you're not supposed to be going?
Things were done. People showed up that were unexpected, and I didn't want their company, and Sassy Hannah came out. And the next thing, I was in a bathtub. And the next thing, I was in an Uber.
I can't wait till this is over because I want to meet Sassy Hannah.
This really nice girl who was at the party, she was, by the way, it was a COVID-friendly party, quote unquote. She was like on top of big clawfoot bathtub, and she was like, oh my god, I know you're drunk right now and you're passed out, but let me just take photos right now. And so I have evidence of me gracefully, artistically passed out in a bathtub posing, and she's just like, snap, snap, snap. Anyways.
I was feeling really bad for all of the people that I know on election night were out getting blackout drunk because they had to wake up the next morning with A, hangover, and B, still no actual president. So that must have been a waking nightmare for people who were trying to drown that out. Or that was just an excellent 5-day weekend.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What a time to be alive.
Well,
Teshawna basically, like, props to her. She was one that was like, you've been drinking a lot. Are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, things are going great in my life.
I'm great. I'm okay. I don't know when Donald Trump's gonna leave, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with school. So, hey, here we are. Oh, and there's a pandemic.
At least we're all here together, and we can help you out.
At least we're all here in this delightful Christmas cottage. It's really getting nasty outside, though. It's like really, like, I feel like the power just went out. This is, anyone?
It looks like the power went out into Teshawna's
Does
place.
anyone, yeah, Teshawna, that was a joke, but
Sitting in
Teshawna
the
is
dark?
currently sitting in the dark.
Oh my god.
It's only dark in my room.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for playing along with this elaborate bit.
You guys like this movie? I didn't.
What kind of question is that? I've been arguing against it.
Would anyone recommend this movie? I'll start off, no.
No, I wouldn't recommend this at all. I mean, I'm still glad we didn't watch fucking Elfman, but like, I don't know.
Like most made-for-TV Christmas movies, the one bit of credit that I will give it is I have seen a lot worse. So,
yeah, this movie's just boring.
It's white noise. You put it on, you go and do something else.
And you won't miss anything. You won't miss a thing.
Weirdly enough, it has a lot of parallels to the fluffy Hallmark movies that they play nowadays, in the sense that you can put it on, it's vaguely Christmas related, and you can leave the room. I left to go make tea a couple of times. Every time I came back, didn't miss a thing. Didn't miss one single thing. No one was killed.
Because some bitch was still trying to walk down the fucking stairwell.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I came back 2 minutes later, she was only at the middle of the stairwell. Yeah, nothing was going on here, yeah.
2 minutes later, it was still four of the sisters just staring at the stepmom with this deadpan look on their face.
There's like ample room for parody out of something like this. That like this character exaggerated. I could totally see this kind of dialed up to an extreme stupid level of it and have a lot of fun mind out of it.
I have to give it some credit, like especially with Jessica Walter and Sally Field. They're still able to pull off an excellent job, but it's just the writing is absolute horseshit. They just needed something to fill time and to pay everyone's rent.
If you need to do like some character research on how to play crazy, drunk, rich people, check it out. I don't know.
No. Don't even know.
Feel like you're calling me out here, Jameson.
Not at all. I know you're not an actress.
I'm gonna be honest though, I think I disliked the movie to the point that like I'm starting to forget all of the details now, so like I have nothing more of value to contribute to this conversation.
And it's not because I've been wasted this whole time. Like I can give you the plot of Jingle All the Way, but this movie, I'm like, I don't fucking know. Some asshole wants his wife to be murdered by his daughters because clearly he doesn't want to take the blame. Is the man senile and suffering from Alzheimer's? We don't want to judge. I get it. Here's the thing. What does he have? What is he bedridden with?
Well, poison. He's bedridden with wifely poison in his milk and honey.
Oh no!
Presumably.
Little bits of arsenic? Oh goodness.
And senility. Fuck it, I wish we watched Rare Exports, I'm gonna say it. Or I'm gonna wish that we watched that fucking Christmas movie that we watched the other night, Kaz. Like, goddamn.
This is the last question I'll pose to you, and then we'll start wrapping up, Jameson. Would you have preferred to watch this or Elfman?
So...
Jameson, honey, you know I love you. Answer correct.
I think... we would have had a lot more comedy to mine from something like Elfman in its discussion. I still don't think we should have watched it because, Kaz, let's be honest here. This year, we've touched on movies that had like subject matters of rape, of racism. I don't think we needed to add fucking harassing and jokes at the expense of little people to our list of like transgressions this year.
Jameson,
we're on fucking thin ice already.
The titular Elfman is played by Wee Man from Jackass. His name is Wee Man. I'm pretty sure he's okay with jokes at his expense. I'm not saying that jokes at the expense of little people are okay. I'm saying that particular little person is probably fine with whatever you have to say at it because he gets kicked in the nuts for a living. So I'm just gonna say maybe it's okay.
I just wanted this podcast to end the year with some
dignity. He gets stuck in a
it.
cannonball, whatever the fuck. He's like put into a cannon and shot off for fun. So it's like, he's okay. He's used to it.
Oh, so you've seen Elfman, because you know how it ends. He gets stuffed into a Christmas cannon.
I'm just psychic. I had no idea.
You and I are gonna have our own podcast where every episode we watch Elfman and then we notice something new every single time we watch it.
Watch it every day for a year.
Can we do a 10-part mini podcast series, Kaz, of just like called Han and Kaz Watch Elfman?
Yeah. It'll be,
honestly, we could just watch the trailer right now and give our 2 cents on it, or do we want to wrap?
Half of the podcast we'll talk about the movie Elfman, and the other half podcast we'll talk about the band Oingo Boingo, and we can call it Elfman on Elfman. All right.
Hannah, Teshawna, thank you so much for being here on our very special Christmas episode. Last minute, you guys really came through for us. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great to see you guys again.
This was great. This is the first time we've had 2 guests on at the same time, and it was fantastic to spend time with you. And yeah, it was a terrible movie, but in some way we at least captured the feeling of old friends coming together for the holidays.
Which we needed more of this fucking year, because I miss people.
Yeah.
What have you been into lately? Like, and have you been watching anything lately? Have you been getting into stuff?
I have been plowing through my TV shows. I have binge watched so much in the last month, which is saying something because I've also been running some other endeavors. So balancing the two has been fun.
Well, what are your shows? What have you been plowing through?
I watched a bunch of stuff on Netflix. So like first with Disney Plus, I watched all of DuckTales.
The new one? That show is so fucking good.
Yeah, it's so good.
The cast is amazing on that show. Like the guest stars they get on it, I'm amazed by it.
Yeah, so I watched on Netflix. I plowed through Hollywood, Emily in Paris.
I'm sorry, just the sentence "I plowed through Hollywood" is really funny.
I mean,
Teshawna's trying to make it to the top.
I mean, Debbie did too. Debbie did Hollywood.
She would fuck on the Hollywood sign just to try to make it.
Hannah, how about yourself?
Oh, geez. Well, right now I'm really into watching my pizza order come through. Yeah, the Panzerotti. Can't wait. It's the wine talking, not me.
The wine's been talking since this fucking episode started.
It's been talking
This
since
has been
11:30
Rosé
in the
featuring
morning.
Hannah.
I think this is the episode where we reveal Hannah Snider's pizza chain of choice, and I don't think any of us were expecting it to be pizza. Who orders pizza?
It's the Panzerottis. I don't know of any other place that have some, but holy
right.
shit, dude. Just like deep fried dough stuffed with cheese.
Hey, no judgment.
Hannah's also just really into any sort of bread covered with cheese. So
Yeah, just cheese all the way. Food of the gods.
Okay,
No,
cheese
on
bread.
Netflix, I don't know. I watched the 4th season of The Crown. Again, I'm not a monarchist, but the history surrounded by it, especially with the political history around it, is very interesting. So,
Yeah.
like, you do learn, especially, and these are the Thatcher years, so we're just like, holy shit, dude, like, she really did fuck up the economy. Expecting it to come back to normal on its own. Air quotes needed.
Yeah, I don't know how fucking accurate The Crown is to what those like private conversations were like, but it's a fascinating and well-written show.
have you watched The Queen's Gambit? It's very good.
I hear that's good too.
Okay,
Yeah.
I keep hearing that. I need to look into that. You know, I paid $10 a month for this shit, and I'm like, I only really watched like 2 or 3 shows. But like, I ended up getting through Hoops. I really enjoyed that one. I like cartoons. And also season 4 of Big Mouth.
Ooh, I do like Big Mouth. Yeah, I should watch that. Yeah.
Spoke to me pretty personally because of the anxiety mosquitoes. As someone who is
Yes,
clinical with anxiety, I was like, holy shit. And especially being like 11, 12, that's when our family doctor was like, you have anxiety. And I was like, no shit, Sherlock. I know. All respect to Dr. Leal. And then I guess South Park. Oh yeah, and then swiping through Bumble a lot too. Because I'm lonely with the
That's a
high
form
sex
of
drive
entertainment,
and I'm
yeah.
not allowed to see people. Fun fact, some idiot on Bumble, he was chatting me up and he was like, and I quote, kind of turned off by your choice of television with South Park, but I guess no one's perfect. I went, excuse me?
I'm kind of turned off by that last sentence that you just said. So, you know.
Yeah, I was like, well, I'm dried up, so... Oh, it's okay. I binge Seinfeld and Friends sometimes. And I went...
I was gonna say, this sounds like the guy's like trying to bait you or like doing that fucking negging kind of thing, like...
But he's doing it very badly.
I'm like, dude, I'm 28. I'm not into fucking... Like, I'm not in this. I'm sorry for this shit. You're either for South Park or you're not. This is how I base my relationships. Are you into my sardonic, dry, and really cringy humor? Or are you gonna be a basic bro and binge Seinfeld and Friends because you enjoy laughing with the laugh track?
I mean, I like both Seinfeld and South Park. What's that say
Yeah,
about
exactly.
me? What's that say
Oh,
about
happy
me?
Festivus, by the way.
You're an unbasic bro.
Anyway, on that note, I need to go to the bathroom. So,
You need to go to the bathroom and also maybe pay your electrical bill? It's been getting darker and darker over there. I'm a little worried that Teshawna's going to be swallowed by the darkness in a second here.
Well,
Teshawna lives in a cave.
She's gone. And she's gone.
Before you take off, we should take like a picture of us all
Are
together.
we done with the episode? Hannah Snider, Teshawna, Sihata, thank you so much for being on the show. That was Home for the Holidays, directed by John Llewellyn and Moxie. If you enjoy the podcast, please follow us on Instagram at thefthispodcast.com, and you stay frosty, deputy dogs. I don't even remember if that is the catchphrase I'm supposed to say at this point. Oh, I can do a Christmas version. You stay frosty the snowman, deputy dogs. How do you like that? How do you like that, Jameson?
Oh my God.
Shove it
Not
down your
at
throat.
all. I mean, like, Jesus Christ, you're so good at coming up with these sign-off phrases, but you never say, like, hey, like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube thing. You never give a shout-out to our Twitter handle.
Give a shout out to our
We
Twitter
have,
handle. We don't do anything on the Twitter handle. When was the last time you even
I
updated
post
the Twitter
all the links
handle?
to the YouTube shit. And, like,
Oh yeah,
God
you
damn,
guys
we
have Twitter? What's that about? Because apparently I need to get one, so.
Alright, well, you can follow us at the F_is_this at Twitter, and, like, talk to me, and I'll fucking shoot some messages at you.
And smash that bell. And
We had a whole fucking year's worth of episodes without a sign-off phrase, and we've had more episodes crack 1,000 views when we didn't have a sign-off phrase. I goddamn hate the sign-off phrase.
all right, so to play
We
us
will have
off,
some words about this next episode.
So
It's
to-
just the two of us.
so to finish the episode,
But I'm being on my best behavior because the ladies are around.
to play us off, Teshawna is just a black screen. Play us off.
Hey!
Yay! To play us off, we will fade out. Hannah Snider, could you please recount the entire plot of Jingle All the Way?
Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, decides that he needs to get his son a present of Turbo Man or whatever the fuck. I don't know. It was the 90s. And then he, goes through, and then he ends up getting Turbo Man.